Hello, this is Manny from the Four Eyes Academia, and today I'm here to talk to you about One Piece chapter 1004, specifically the potential identity of the character we found on the last panel. Who could it be? Speculations are Enel, Toki, Thoery. Today, I'll be briefly talking about the possibility and the likelihood of it being any of those characters. Let's go. This figure potentially being Enel is initially based on the character's appearance. As we are aware, Enel had long ears dangling and stretching down the side of him and a sharp pointy nose, a nose that only resembles one other character of note in One Piece, and we'll get into that later. The last time we saw Enel was on the moon, giving power to an ancient city. This is based off the short stories from the cover pages during Thriller Bark. In the middle of the story, we saw Enel standing on top of a spaceship, and we don't see it again afterwards. So there is a possibility of him being able to return to Earth. Something that I've noticed in the latest chapters of One Piece is the mentions and use of thunder and lightning. Kaido uses divine thunder, the roof of Onigashima being covered by lightning at the beginning of one of those chapters, Big Mom using God of Lightning, causing a natural disaster, and Nami using Thunder Lance Temple, saying that she needs to get a bigger thunderbolt. All of this, coupled with Luffy mentioning to Big Mom that he's made of rubber and is not affected by lightning, in a similar fashion to Skypiea while fighting Enel, could be viewed as foreshadowing by Oda. Could be. But how did he get there? As we established, Enel was on the moon, but in the possession of a spaceship. Onigashima being lifted by Kaido while he's in the middle of a battle could cause him to lose focus and a lack of direction as to how high up he's taking Onigashima. No, I don't think that the island is now next to the moon, but it could be potentially so high up that only a spaceship coming towards Earth could have seen it. That being Enel. If a floating island was not enough, the constant use of lightning could have attracted him. Potentially, he could have heard what was going on and went towards the island with the use of his observation haki. That is something that I'm yet to understand, and that is where the theory falls apart. Why is he in a room full of the scabbards attempting to look after them? And by the looks of things, that may be a teardrop we see. If that is the case, then that cannot be Enel, as he has no emotional attachment to anybody, let alone 9 random samurais he has never met before. She does have an emotional bond with the scabbards, and it would only be right for her to cry over them as she saw them close to death. What could be perceived as long stretchy dangling ears when making a case for Enel is most likely to be a hair strand for Thoery. She's obviously there to take part in the raid that her brother and father's retainers are currently fighting in. However, it does seem a bit out of character for her. As far as we are aware, she isn't a fighter. Her presence will only put people in harm's way, and how was she able to get there unnoticed? The return of Toki is something that has been mentioned several times within the One Piece fandom. As the death was off screen, it leaves the possibility of a return. Toki has the ability to travel into the future, but we don't know for certain if she has the ability to dictate where she ends up. There is a theory suggesting that she went into the future but did not land in Wano. This could be because she was traveling around the world to get reinforcement that she met on Roger's ship and on Whitebeard's ship. Her appearing now could explain what we witnessed in chapter 954 and chapter 979. In the former, we see Law escape his cells with the help of an unknown figure, while many speculated that it could have been Drake based on the footwear it could have been Toki. After Toki met Oden and ended up in Wano, she dressed as the locals did and wore sandals. However, during her introduction, she had on these boots and they were similar to the boots found on the person helping Law escape. In chapter 979, we see Robin and Jinbei being followed by an unknown figure. I think it's fair to conclude that this is the same figure we saw in chapter 954. Toki will be another character to cry over the injuries that the scabbards have sustained due to Kaido. However, one thing that makes me go against the idea that it's either Thoery or Toki is simply the nose. The shape of it just doesn't fit. As mentioned previously, the nose of Enel is not very common within One Piece. Nico Robin is the only other character of note with that facial design. As she's mentioned in the chapter earlier by Sanji for her not to be underestimated, I think her presence here and now is set up for a fight to show us her strengths. To conclude, my opinion is that it's not Enel, regardless of how much we would like for him to return, but him being with the scabbards just makes little sense to me. So does Robin being there at this particular time, crying over them, it just seems very odd. I don't think Thoery will be there in the middle of a battlefield, especially going unseen for this long. I think Toki is the most likely candidate out of these 4, but even that has its holes. One thing that I'm sure of is whoever was following Jinbei and Robin in chapter 979 is most likely them.